Prime Minister Modi has landed at New York. He's been welcomed at the airport. Celebrations are underway in different parts of New York, including outside the hotel where Prime Minister Modi is expected shortly, and will start a series of meetings with leaders from different sectors across the United States, including Elon Musk of Tesla and Twitter. We'll keep bringing you all the details, but let's just quickly get reactions on how people across different segments are really looking at this very, very key visit by Prime Minister Modi. It's his first state visit to the United States, but also a very rare privilege, as it were. But it's not just that. In fact, he is the first Indian Prime Minister to be addressing the US Joint Congress session for a second consecutive time. And that is also reflective of how the US is looking at relations with India. Many are calling this a turning point in terms of the bilateral relations with India and US. I'm being joined also by Anand Ahuja right now, who is attorney at the law. He is New York-based Indian-American leader. Also, Ajay Jain Bhutoria has been with us for a while now. He is the Indian-American community leader as well. Anand Ahuja, to you first. Prime Minister Modi has arrived in New York. Series of meetings that are expected. But how do you look at Prime Minister's visit to the New York with a state invitation, as it were?
As you very rightly said, this is a turning point in Indo-US relationship. Again, as very rightly you said, Modi is probably the only Indian leader to address joint session of Congress consecutively for the second time. Obviously, enthusiasm is very high, not only in the Indian community here, but all over the world, wherever the Indians are, because it's a matter of pride for all of us Indians. In New York, especially because Modi has arrived today in New York. So New York is basically more excited. Modi is coming to New York, and then from New York, he is to go to Washington, D.C. There's a huge welcome reception at the White House by not only by the United States government, but huge Indian diaspora is going to be there on Thursday morning to welcome Prime Minister Modi.
Right. In fact, Anand Ahuja, what is also very important to be seen, and this question goes to both of you, not everything is very rosy at a time when this meeting is taking place. One of the sectors that India and US are looking at deepening their ties is in the tech sector, and world over, including in the United States as well as in India. There are already people being turned down. There are people being asked to leave their jobs. They are being sacked because of major challenges in this tech industry. There's an economic slowdown which is being seen in some parts of the world. Anand Ahuja, not a very easy time for Indian American or Indian diaspora, particularly in the tech industry. They may be also sitting at the edge of their seats.
To be honest with you, I don't agree with you what you just stated. Irrespective of whether the economy goes up or down in the United States, tech industry is likely to grow. And as everybody knows in the world, the tech industry is dominated by and large by Indians. So Indians will always be in demand with every day new technology is coming up. Till I believe a couple of years back, nobody heard of AI, nobody heard of ChatGPT, those kind of technologies. Now, every day we see that new technology is coming in the market. So I don't agree with you when you say that market is not good. Or to be honest with you, I'm a very optimistic person, and I believe that Indian, especially in the tech industry, will always dominate United States market as well as other parts of the world.
Right. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Indians there have always dominated this sector, but the challenge perhaps is within the sector and not alone for Indian diaspora there alone. But we'll get back to you, Mr. Ajay, as well as Mr. Anand. But let me just quickly go over to my colleague Maha Siddiqui. Maha, moments from now, Prime Minister is expected at the hotel where you are. Maha, this meeting, of course, focusing on the defense and tech sector, deepening the ties in both of these sectors. And both of these sectors are also extremely crucial in today's geopolitical setting. One, there is a Russia-Ukraine war which is going on. There's China's aggression being very closely watched by many across the world. But also in terms of the tech sector, not everything is very hunky-dory as some may say. There are massive layoffs which are happening in this sector as well world over.
Well, as far as the tech sector is concerned, both India and the United States want to forge closer ties. And under the tech sector, we have seen the announcement of ISET, that is the Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technology by India and the United States last year by President Biden and Prime Minister Modi on the sidelines of the Quad Summit. That partnership is already being taken forward. Earlier this year, when the US Commerce Secretary G.R. Raimondo was in India, along with Piyush Goyal, they announced a step further under this initiative as an initiative on partnering on semiconductors. Now, this is going to be critical as far as technology is concerned, because semiconductors, the small chips, are part of electronic gadgets, of bank ATMs, internet itself, all powered by that, and the automobile industry as well, which we saw disruption in during the COVID-19 pandemic because of the supply chains being disrupted. Largely the semiconductors are concentrated with a few big companies, and one of the biggest that holds the largest chunk is in Taiwan, TSMC. And therefore what we see is the need of the hour is for better collaboration on the tech front, for both sides to get together as they believe for creating a more robust and resilient supply chain of semiconductors. In fact, Sneha, from what I've learned from my sources is that we can expect some big announcement there as well. In terms of Micron, some big announcement could be made, whether it's setting up of a manufacturing unit in India or otherwise. Those nitty-gritties and details are to be worked out, but there is a huge buzz that that announcement could also come forth on the 22nd of June. So yes, tech is a big area of collaboration. Also, tech is an area where in Silicon Valley, if you see the tech hub of America, it is largely powered by Indian Americans. Indian Americans also CEOs of some of the top tech companies too. So clearly the American side understands the footprint that the Indians or people of Indian origin or diaspora have on the tech industry, but how should it translate into having more resilient supply chains, and in fact India also benefiting from, of course, its own people who are powering the Silicon Valley here, from their understanding and innovations. That partnership is likely to be strengthened.
Right, Maha. Prime Minister Modi should be expected at the hotel where you are shortly from now. Of course, you have been showing us and telling us about the massive security arrangements around. But has the Indian diaspora movement, at least around you, increased or decreased?
No, they are still very much around here. And of course, there are much more than these people. These are only like a small group of people who've gathered here outside. There are about 150 to 200 people inside the hotel is what we believe, standing in the corridors to wave at the Prime Minister. Obviously, they will not have a chance to have he can't have a personal appointment with everyone. But since they'll be in closer proximity than these people who are standing outside, they can expect maybe a word or two with the Prime Minister when he's going to his room. We are expecting now the Prime Minister perhaps to arrive in some time from now at the hotel. We have been telling you, Sneha, that the security has cordoned off this entire stretch of this road there leading up to the New York Palace Hotel where the Prime Minister will be staying. And the Indian diaspora outside the hotel has been asked to step across the road where we are, where the media is also in fact, been asked to stay in a particular designated area. The Indian American community is also here. Many of them holding American and Indian flags in their hands. They hope to wave that once the Prime Minister reaches here, and most of them probably will only get a glimpse of the Prime Minister and then leave because that's all that they really can from across the road. So, Sneha, that's the situation at the moment over here.
Right, Maha Siddiqui reporting from New York. We'll keep bringing you all the details shortly from now. Prime Minister Modi expected at the hotel, where he'll also kickstart a series of meetings, celebrations outside the hotel, as well as people lined up to get a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi even inside the hotel. But for now, let's just quickly slip into a short break. Hello and welcome back. Prime Minister Modi has landed in New York and is shortly expected in the hotel. Celebrations have already broken out. This is a very important visit by Prime Minister Modi. It is just the third state visit of a leader under the Joe Biden administration, that is since Joe Biden became the US president, and that was also reflective of how important is India for US in the bilateral relations. There's also several meetings which have been planned over the next 3 days. Prime Minister Modi will kickstart these meetings with one-on-ones with thought leaders, as has been communicated with by officials. These are leaders from different segments, including scientists, musicians, singers, as well as those from other industries like Elon Musk, who owns not only Tesla but also the Twitter. And let's just quickly listen into reactions that have been coming in from outside the hotel where Prime Minister Modi is expected shortly.
We are totally proud of how well he is working as the best Prime Minister of India. He has brought our value of Indian diaspora such high that we are very proud to say we're Indian. And he is from Gujarat, so we're very proud to have that part as well. So we can always say is we're from the same state that Narendra Modi ji is from.
It's a huge impact because ever since Modi sir is here as a PM, when people meet you in New York or anywhere, they greet you with respect, which weren't there before. Before we were considered third country. Now we consider somebody level to Americas.
I find that this is wonderful what is happening in terms of India and US having a connection so that Indians can be present over here. I think it is amazing always when we have our Prime Minister come over here and be welcomed in the way that is being welcomed. So I think it's fantastic. Yes.
And Maha Siddiqui joins us again. Maha, so you have been covering several such visits for a very long time. If I may just take the liberty of asking you, Maha, since Prime Minister Modi is expected any moment from now, for the next 3 days, which is that one or two events that you're really looking forward to cover as a reporter?
Sorry, Sneha, I was a bit distracted because the Prime Minister is about to come here. Can you please repeat your question?
Maha, I don't intend to throw you on the back foot, but having covered so many events on these lines and several such important meetings, over the next 3 days, what is that one or two meeting that you really look forward to cover as a reporter?
Sneha, the biggest meeting in this visit is, of course, between President Biden and Prime Minister Modi. Now, they have met several times in the past as well. But why this is important is because of the big takeaways we are expecting from this bilateral meeting. So this is not just going to be a meeting where they will talk to each other, discuss the current regional and global matters and, just diplomatically in the ambit of diplomacy, just talk about issues and concepts. There will be concrete outcomes as well in this meeting in the defense sector, in the technology sector, perhaps even something in climate change, which are all important and some of them very critical at the moment for humanity as well. I think that is why this visit is important, and that particular meeting is going to be important as well. And of course also the Prime Minister's address at the US Congress, though several times in the past other Prime Ministers have also had that honor. Prime Minister Modi will be making his second address to the joint Congress, but it'll be just interesting to see what are the points that he makes to the US Congress this time around, and also to have a feel of their parliament. I have covered the Indian Parliament, the Rajya Sabha, for a very long time. Just to draw comparisons, how journalists in the press gallery, what is it that they are allowed to cover, not cover? Are they similar? Are they different? All that is going to be something that personally I would look forward to as well, covering. Also, Sneha, while we are at it, let me quickly once again take you through the mood over here. As you can see, there's a lot of curiosity now because this entire area has been cordoned off. So you can see a lot more people have gathered. It's almost lunchtime here. This is the time when, in fact, almost, I mean, it's past lunch already. It's 2 p.m. over here. People around this area, also some of the people I just spoke to, because they work around this area, they said they also came down just to have a look. But you can see a large number of Indian American community, the diaspora also gathered here. You are just going to get a glimpse of the Prime Minister from so far.
कितनी प्रेस्टीज की बात है कि एक ग्लिम्स भी देखने को मिल जाएगी।
अरे और इतने
आप लोग अंदर नहीं जा पाए,
इतने नजदीक से, अरे हमारा
वॉशिंगटन के लिए भी
हमारा सौभाग्य है कि इतनी इंडिया में और दूसरे कई जगह तो ये भी मौका नहीं मिलता।
अच्छा, तो आप लोग सेटिस्फाइड है कि अक्रॉस द रोड ही प्राइम मिनिस्टर को एक बार देख लें?
एक बार देख लें, एक झलक देखने के लिए आए हैं, और अगर दिख जाएगी तो बहुत अच्छा होगा।
I understand that there are quite a few people inside, ma'am. Do you have any idea of the number of
people? They have passes, and they are like, I think 60-70 people inside, and they have passes, and they have like certain designation and assigned people. So we cannot go inside, but I am so happy I'm here. I've been waiting for 3 hours, and I can wait and wait. I just want to see him, and I want to greet him, and that's it.
All right.
I'm so proud of him, and I'm so proud to be Indian. Bharatiya.
Absolutely. I mean, it's great to hear these comments from you all, proud to be an Indian there. How do you see, how do you all see creating a connect between India and America? Because people play a big role in creating bonhomie between countries.
Right. Go ahead.
India and America, you see, we have one of the biggest CEOs have been from India here now. You take any multinational. So the way India and US are now getting interdependence is one of the most important factors for both the countries. And I believe Modi ji is very instrumental in getting this bonding going great guns. And the American politics and politicians and people do recollect and recognize India as a solid partner for them for future and a long, long future.
Do you think that, आपसे पूछूंगी, क्या आपको लगता है कि over the years जो Indian Americans का American society को contribution है, उसकी वजह से that is one of the driving factors why India has also been recognized as a country that can play a bigger partner with the US?
Absolutely, because if you see today, like in technology, like Microsoft, Google, Adobe, in सभी के CEO are Indian, and even in Silicon Valley, like Khosla, they have contributed so much to the technology of this country, and they can play an important role in moving India still by leaps and bounds to another height, and we feel that they are doing pretty good job, and like industries in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, Mumbai, all places, and like in Gujarat, a new semiconductor chip factory, TSC, is coming up. So these are the things we need for future of our country.
UK, sir, UK, United Kingdom, describes the People Connect as a living bridge. आपको लगता है ये डिस्क्रिप्शन एप्ट है किसी भी 2 कंट्रीज के लिए और अमेरिका और इंडिया के बीच में भी?
Sure. NRI is a living bridge, right? That's why NRI is some kind of a contribution there to developing the country, right? So whatever they invest there, whatever they do, they go visit there, and whatever they spend there, that is a big contribution to the India.
Right. Thank you all of you for speaking with us. And in a short while from now, we'll be seeing the Prime Minister arrive here. The view is pretty much blocked now because people are just waiting to see him. There's a lot of media as well. But this entire stretch, and my camera person will be able to just show it to you, this entire stretch has in fact been cordoned off.
Maha, very interesting details and reactions right from New York where you are. But Maha, also interesting to see that from 2014 to 2023, when the first International Yoga Day was announced, to what Prime Minister is going to be part of in few hours from now in New York itself when it comes to yoga. Many talking about yoga diplomacy and about how India is establishing itself as a world leader with even soft powers, as it were, including yoga diplomacy. Maha, if you can hear us. We seem to have lost the line of Maha Siddiqui. I of course have Anand Ahuja right now with me, who is an Indian American leader, part of the Indian diaspora in US as well. So Anand Ahuja, if I may ask you this question, yoga, often referred to as a gift of India to the world. But it's even beyond that. Now it's also very, very closely tied up to how India is portraying itself as a global leader and the political narratives that are being built around it.
Yes, basically, I personally believe that it's not just one sector or one particular aspect that has to be taken into consideration. It's a combination of various factors. Even when we talk of IT, it's not just IT. I think we should talk about Indian professionals. Indian physicians, they have contributed a lot in this country. Likewise, when you talk about yoga, yoga was actually popular even before Modi came into the picture, especially in the Western world. If you see Maharishi, Mahesh Yogi, and those kind of Rajneesh, they brought yoga to this country. The only thing is that when you linked yoga with diplomacy, then we say credit goes to Modi. So Modi actually has made yoga more of an international diplomacy part than just as a yoga part. So there are various factors that contribute to better relationship between India and USA or India and other countries in the world. The geopolitical aspect is there, there's economic aspect is there, and we should not forget when we talk about what is happening in India vis-a-vis India's relationship with other countries. The credit actually goes to the initially to Nehru and Nehru's policies. These IT sectors and medical schools and engineering colleges, they were actually vision of Pandit Nehru. If you see the economic reforms, that actually credit goes to Sardar Manmohan Singh when he was finance minister of Narasimha Rao. So it's basically efforts of various administrations in the country that we are seeing the results today.
Right. Interesting observations there, Mr. Anand Ahuja. In fact, what would be your key takeaway from what you're expecting over the next 3 days? If the Indian diaspora, of the way they are looking at this meeting between Prime Minister Modi and US President Joe Biden, what would be your key focus or key takeaway as part of the Indian diaspora? What are you really looking at?
I personally believe that besides the trade and investment issues, which will be discussed at length, and media is giving a lot of coverage to that, but there are, in my personal opinion, there are going to be some hidden agendas also. And one of the hidden agenda could be at least on the Biden administration part, there is an expectation that Modi government can play a role of mediator in Ukraine-Russia war also. So to what extent that will be conveyed to Modi, and to what extent Modi will be willing to actually involve himself in US-Ukraine war's mediation role, that is yet to be seen. But it's not just that Indian diaspora is thrilled that Modi is coming to the country and is a great leader, and just let's enjoy that moment. But we have to look into what actually is going to be in future USA relationship with India, or India's relationship with the other countries.
Right. That's certainly being a very important point that you're mentioning. In fact, this meeting, which is expected between Indian Prime Minister as well as the US President, is set to have some extremely key takeaways that may even be very important in framing how US and India really look at each other, and the close collaborations over several decades to come. Now, meanwhile, these are the visuals that you're seeing on the screen of Prime Minister Modi arriving outside the hotel in New York from the having landed at the airport. So these are the first visuals that you're getting of Prime Minister Modi arriving at the hotel in New York. And this area has been completely cordoned off for security reasons. There are Indian people from the Indian diaspora who have lined up on the other side of this road that is not really visible in this particular video, but the Indians in the Indian diaspora lining up outside the hotel to welcome Prime Minister Modi. Even celebrations that had begun a while ago as Prime Minister Modi had landed at the New York airport, but heavy security as expected outside this hotel, and Prime Minister Modi has arrived at this hotel, will be entering that hotel. Inside the hotel also, as my colleague Maha Siddiqui was reporting, there are several people, several Indians or Indian Americans or Indians or those part of the Indian diaspora who have lined up even inside the hotel to get a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi as he would be heading and then very shortly just starting off his one-on-one meetings with different leaders from across different sectors in US. Now, over the next 3 days, there are some very key meetings that Prime Minister Modi is going to be part of. But after his one-on-ones with industry leaders, whether it be from the science, tech or music world, he's also going to be part of the UN celebrations of the International Yoga Day. He's also going to be performing yoga, and that is also going to be closely watched. Several leaders have made some very interesting statements on how they look at India, India's contribution to the world in terms of yoga, and also how yoga has been part of daily lives of several people across several countries, and this being one of the soft powers that India would be looking at sending extremely strong message across the world in terms of being a global leader.
Maybe they didn't allow you.
And I'm also being joined by Atman Trivedi, who is a former Senior Director for Policy and Global Markets, the US Department of Commerce, India and Asia expert. Thank you very much, Mr. Atman Trivedi, for joining us. Mr. Trivedi, we'll get back to you, Mr. Trivedi, in a bit, but I'm also being joined by Maha Siddiqui right now. Maha, Prime Minister Modi, as is being seen in these visuals, is now even waving at the Indian diaspora.
You see the visuals over here. Prime Minister Modi is here with Sneha, the Prime Minister is right here and you can see him in our cameras as well. He stepped out of the hotel to meet the Indian diaspora that has been waiting here to meet him. It's a little unexpected because a lot of people were standing inside to meet him. One would have hardly expected him to, sir, to be outside here and meet him, but the Prime Minister anyway has stepped out and he is trying to meet with the people. You will be able to see the Prime Minister walking up here on our cameras. He is just meeting with the Indian diaspora here. There you can just get a glimpse of that along with the security here and just waving to all the people there, all the crowd that has gathered outside his hotel here Alright, you can just have a... So Prime Minister Modi is here meeting the Indian diaspora and you can get a very clear glimpse of the Prime Minister over here. Sneha?
Right, Maha, very interesting moment there, unexpected that Prime Minister Modi has in fact walked out towards the Indian diaspora that was lined up on the opposite side of the hotel, where even Maha Siddiqui, my colleague, was reporting from, and he's waved and he spent few minutes with them for the Indian diaspora that was waiting out in the afternoon in the United States. This would be quite a big moment, Maha. These are the visuals.
Yes, absolutely. The people here are pretty ecstatic, ma'am. You were right there. You said that just waving to the Prime Minister will be good enough for you, but it came.
We couldn't wave because he was surrounded by people. We couldn't wave.
But he was right. But he was right here.
Amazing experience. Amazing experience. Can't believe it.
So Sneha, I got it right there from the people who are gathered here. They are expressing their views. They were also pretty taken by surprise that the Prime Minister walked out over here and met with the people, at least waved to them. Some of them who were right next to the barricade they were quite close to him and could in fact get a very good glimpse of him. But some of them, as that lady there said, that because he got surrounded by a lot of people, she was not able to see him that clearly.
Right, Maha. Very interesting moment there for the Indian diaspora. Of course, Prime Minister Modi has now made his way inside the hotel, where there are, these are the shots that you're getting from inside the hotel, where Prime Minister Modi has already arrived, and a lot of Indians, a lot of members of the Indian diaspora also lined up inside the hotel to be able to wave at Prime Minister Modi, to be able to get glimpses of him. These are the shots of Prime Minister Modi as he enters the hotel in New York, kickstarting his 3-day visit, lined up with very key meetings with several leaders, including, of course, US President Joe Biden, who has also extended a state invite to Prime Minister Modi. So this is Prime Minister Modi's first state visit to the United States, also being seen as a very important event, as we have been mentioning that he's perhaps the only third international leader under the Joe Biden administration to be accorded a state invite. So there are several meetings which are lined up, and very critical decisions of partnership and deepening their engagement, particularly between US and India, also on cards. These are not just discussions that are likely to be held, but in fact there are certain decisions, very concrete decisions, that are likely to be brought out by the end of the meeting with Prime Minister Modi and President Biden, which is also being watched very closely by other world leaders as well. This, of course, coming at very important time, very interesting geopolitical scenario across the world, as it were, whether it be the US-Russia war, the Ukraine-Russia war that is already continuing, or it be the Indo-Pacific challenges that are being seen, particularly with what many are being called very aggressive moves by China. But in terms of the tech partnerships, which is being seen as very strategic and important partnerships to be furthered by India and US, whether it be the manufacturing of semiconductors or microchips, all of these being very, very closely spoken about and will be part of discussions or some very concrete decisions that are likely to come out. These are the visuals that are coming in again of the Indian diaspora interacting with Prime Minister Modi, this time inside the hotel where Prime Minister Modi has arrived. It's been almost 2 hours, almost 1 hour 45 minutes since Prime Minister Modi landed at New York for the very important visit that is also being seen as a turning point between India and US bilateral relations. These are the shots that you're getting of the Indian diaspora that are gathered inside the hotel to greet Prime Minister Modi, welcome him and get glimpses of him, selfies as could have been imagined being clicked as Prime Minister interacts with them. Maha, so Maha Siddiqui returns to us right now. Maha, so it's interesting. Not only was it a surprise visit for at least the Indian diaspora that was lined outside the hotel, Prime Minister Modi actually spending quite a few minutes interacting with the diaspora inside the hotel as well. They would have just imagined to get few glimpses of Prime Minister Modi, but Prime Minister Modi very clearly engaging with them. He's even giving some of them autographs. He's obliged to selfies. He's literally waiting and interacting with the diaspora there, Maha.
Yes, absolutely, and that was expected, that those who are inside the hotel and in close proximity might get a chance to exchange a word or two with the Prime Minister, but the diaspora that was standing outside, they were just expecting to wave to the Prime Minister, but he came quite close, very close to the barricading across the street and actually waved to them at very close quarters. Some in fact were able to shake hands with him as well. So they are quite excited about the fact that they were able to not just see the Prime Minister but were able to in some sense engage slightly more than they expected. Inside the hotel, a sizable crowd of about 100, I mean there are varying figures that people are giving us. Some say that there are about 100. Some others in the morning told us that there are about 150 there lining up in the corridors, and they are trying to just get a glimpse of the Prime Minister and say wave to him or just get a word or two with him when he's going inside. And that's exactly, I think, what's happening right now inside Sneha, because we are outside, so we do not know exactly what is playing out right now inside the hotel, which is New York Palace Hotel, where the Prime Minister is staying. From now on to about, it's already 2:30 p.m. here. 4 o'clock roughly is when his meetings with the diaspora will start. With the CEOs and the other 24 people that he's going to be meeting. The list of some of those, as we have shared, which include Elon Musk as well. That meeting will start shortly now. The Prime Minister will be meeting all of those people in just a bit. Yes, that's starting from 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. is where it has all been slotted.
Right, Maha. In fact, Maha, from Prime Minister Modi has arrived at the hotel. Of course, he's engaged with the Indian diaspora. He's treated them by just interacting with them, allowing them to take those selfies. But in moments from now, I presume those meetings with the leaders from different sectors is also going to begin, whether it be Elon Musk of Tesla and Twitter, or even others from different backgrounds, whether they be scientists or even people from the music world.
Yes, those meetings are going to start in another hour and a half from now. 4 p.m. American time is when he will be meeting about 24 people, as I pointed out, a range of people from CEOs, artists, academicians to people involved, experts in the healthcare sector, a wide range of people that he's going to meet between today 4 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. That's the slotted time. Of course, those meetings can also extend by a little bit because the numbers are quite huge over here. 24 of such people that he's likely to meet, out of which some of the prominent ones are Elon Musk. I guess everybody's eyes will most keenly be trained on his meeting with Elon Musk, who's himself become at the moment quite controversial and constantly in news ever since he became the owner of Twitter. So there is interest in Elon Musk as well, and therefore his meeting with the Prime Minister is something that will be watched out for. Apart from that, there are at least two people of Indian origin, Falguni Shah as well as Chandrika Tandon, who the Prime Minister will also be meeting among the 24 people. There's an astrophysicist, D. Garce Tyson as well, that the Prime Minister will be meeting today, apart from some investors as well, who he will interact with here in his hotel. This is the New York Palace, where the meetings have been lined up between 4 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. today, US time.
Right. Thank you, Maha Siddiqui, for those details. I'm also being joined right now by Atman Trivedi, who is a former Senior Director for Policy, Global Markets, US Department of Commerce, India and Asia expert. Thank you, Atman Trivedi, and sorry, apologize for keeping you wait so long. But Atman Trivedi, Prime Minister Modi has arrived in New York. He's already reached the hotel. A very important visit to mark the US and India's bilateral ties, as it were. What would be the key takeaways that you are really looking at this point?
Well, thank you for having me. It was exciting to see all of the images of the Prime Minister engaging with the diaspora community, the throngs of people in and outside of his hotel in New York City. I think apart from these kind of images, these important visual moments that are created, we'll see what I hope to be substantial deliverables. Both sides have been spending many hours together to negotiate over what they hope will be very serious and substantive outcomes. And that should be reflected in the joint statement that they both put out in a few days' time. So substance to match all of these wonderful moments that we're witnessing already.
Right. That's also perhaps very interesting is the entire geopolitical scenario in which this meeting is really happening. Mr. Trivedi, what would you say about this, as whether it be Russia-Ukraine war, whether it be the challenges in the Indo-Pacific with respect to what many are seeing as a very aggressive China? Both US and India would have a lot at stake.
There will be a tremendous amount at stake. This visit takes place among significant geopolitical uncertainty. The Prime Minister and the President will no doubt speak to U.S.-China relations following Secretary Blinken's visit to China, his first as Secretary of State. There's been a lot of tension in the Indo-Pacific region associated with some of China's activities. And so that issue will be something that will be discussed. Russia is always a topic of conversation. Its activities in Ukraine will also be something to discuss. And then India is consistent with its growing role in the world, its leadership of the global South. India, of course, is chairing the G20 this year. And so India's G20 presidency and the Prime Minister's ambitions will also be front and center as the two leaders discuss global geopolitics together.
Right. Important points being made there by you, Mr. Trivedi. In fact, on a side note, as it were, with what you are seeing Prime Minister Modi's visit to US, the kind of imagery that is being generated, the kind of appreciation, welcome that is expected even in the United Nations, the kind of interaction with the Indian diaspora. How do you really look at all of this translate into advantage for the not only the Indian diaspora, but also the US and Indian citizens?
It's an important question because Indian and U.S. citizens, of course, are the center of the relationship. They're the glue that holds it together. And the two governments just try to keep up with the dynamism, the ambition, the innovation of the peoples in both societies. And the Indian American diaspora is the bridge that binds those two societies. It's only fitting and appropriate that they're going to be featuring center stage alongside the two governments and their leaders. This relationship is based on the people in both countries, and a lot of what is accomplished in terms of policy issues like the civil nuclear deal, for example, that has been accomplished with the hard work, the dedication behind the scenes of the diaspora community. And so, you know, the people of our two democracies are essential. They're the engine to this partnership.
Right, Mr. Trivedi, I'm also being joined by Mr. Anand Ahuja. Again, Anand Ahuja, you saw the visuals that really emerged, whether it be from outside the hotel as well as inside the hotel, very warm visuals of Prime Minister waving and engaging with the Indian diaspora. You saw him allow them take selfies and give autographs as well. This perhaps also setting the tone and tenor for what really is expected over the next 3 days.
Yes, as I said earlier also, that there is a lot of excitement amongst Indians living in United States, and it's not only in New York and Washington, D.C., that people, they were awaiting for Modi to come to United States. There's excitement all over United States, and if Prime Minister Modi decides to visit any other state, I'm sure that he will get the same kind of welcome as well as excitement from the Indian community in those cities also. So there's no doubt about that Prime Minister Modi is an undisputable leader, not only of India, but at this moment commands a lot of respect all over the world. Proof of the pudding is in eating. I'm not just talking that India just being holding presidency of G20 this time, but if you see, even without holding that kind of position, India today commands a lot of respect all over the world.
Right, that's very relevant to have said that. Atman Trivedi, you were talking about some very tangible deliverables that should be given out at the end of this meeting between Prime Minister Modi as well as US President Joe Biden. Defense and tech sectors being two of the sectors at least where India and US are looking at deepening these ties. Are you also looking at perhaps any other surprise element?
The defense and tech sectors are going to be central to the conversation, as you said. The work together on critical and emerging technologies, issues like semiconductors, AI, quantum, will be featured. There have been a few defense deals that we've seen in the news. The possibility of an announcement on jet engines for India's military aircraft. The possibility of defense items in UAVs. There's been discussion on that front too, but watch to see if there are breakthroughs in other areas, like on health security, for example. Both countries are affected by changes in our climate. Have they found new ways to partner together on environmental preservation and in response to climate change? The two countries can be doing more together on battery technologies, critical minerals resilience and security of that supply chain. So watch to see for elements of progress in these areas. On issues that have historically the U.S. and India have had their differences, for instance, like trade, we should be watching to see if there are signs that the two sides are coming to closer together in some respects. We discussed earlier how people-to-people ties are at the center of the relationship. Consistent with that, are there breakthroughs in areas like health, education, visas that allow greater connectivity between our peoples in the tech and other sectors? Are there breakthroughs that have emerged, renewed commitments by both sides? There's been discussion about the possible opening of new U.S. consulates in India. That will be tremendous in terms of closer U.S. government engagement with the people of India and trying to facilitate that connectivity between our peoples. Is there movement on education, for instance? The First Lady of the United States is a big believer in the importance of vocational training and skills development here at community colleges in the U.S. Are there opportunities to compare notes between the two governments and advance learnings that can assist both societies, both governments in terms of educating their people and developing the skills necessary to be competitive in the 21st century?
Right. In fact, Anand Ahuja, would you like to add to that? Perhaps a lot more areas of collaboration and focus even available within the subsectors, as it were, of defense and tech, as Mr. Trivedi mentioned about, say, vocational training, you know, where priorities for the two countries and looking at how they both can come together for those priorities.
Yes, I personally believe that everything revolves around geopolitical situation. Particularly if we see now Saudi Arabia and Iran coming together and the emerging nexus amongst China, Saudi Arabia, Iran, North Korea, Russia. So this is a totally new geopolitical game now. So whether you take it from defense perspective or from purely geopolitical point of view, those are the, I believe, more glaring issues. And international terrorism, which also basically emerges because of this geopolitical equation. So I believe that besides trade and defense kind of deals, there will be discussion, as I mentioned earlier, also what's going on between Russia and Ukraine and what's going on amongst these other countries, as I mentioned, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, China, and North Korea. Now, both North Korea as well as Iran, they are on the verge of developing nuclear capabilities. So this is not an alarming situation for the United States, but it's for the whole of the world.
Right. Thank you, Anand Ahuja. In fact, just to either of you who would want to really take this question, and on a very light note, this whole excitement of the Indian diaspora, how is this being looked at by those in the US?
Oh, as I said earlier also, yes, people, they are very excited, and it's a positive sign, positive outlook. And it's not only just because they have high expectations, but on the ground reality point of view also, this is a good opportunity not only for India, not only for United States, but as I said, that for a new geopolitical equation.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Trivedi.
Thank you. Just to add to what Anand was saying, as a second generation Indian American, it's very gratifying to see the hard work, the contributions of Indians who came here in the late 60s, 1970s, and 80s, really being recognized. Indians are an essential part of the American story, and they're making important contributions both to their adopted home as well as to India. And I think that's going to be recognized at events like the State Dinner and really celebrated. It's a great story for both democracies. And so long as we keep our focus on the people, I think the future of this relationship is incredibly bright.
If I'm permitted to add quickly, I will add just one more point here. I personally believe that both India and Pakistan, we got independence on the same day, 75 years ago. If we compare where India stands today and where Pakistan stands today, and I personally believe that credit goes to India's visionary leaders, the kind of leaders India has produced, everything, the whole credit goes to them. And again, as I said, that Rome was not built in a day. So it took 75 years for Indians to reach to this particular point.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Atman Trivedi and Anand Ahuja, for joining us. It's a very important moment in India-US bilateral relations. It's also, the next 3 days are also going to be very closely watched, not only by the Indians and the US citizens or the Indian diaspora in US, but also world across, because this meeting also comes at extremely challenging geopolitical environment. What would be the key takeaways? What would be the crucial deliverables? These would be some things that we would be tracking very closely at NDTV. NDTV's Maha Siddiqui bringing you up and close with all the details at New York. For now, let's just quickly slip into a short break.